Years of Living Dangerously is a documentary television series focusing on global warming. The first season premiered on April 13, 2014, consisted of 9 episodes, and ran on Showtime. It won an Emmy Award as Outstanding Documentary or Nonfiction Series. The second season, consisting of 8 episodes, is expected to air on the National Geographic Channel in late 2016, with broader distribution than the first season. James Cameron, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and clean energy investor and environmental activist Daniel Abbasi are executive producers of the series, as was the late Jerry Weintraub for the first season. Bach and David Gelber, former 60 Minutes producers, are co-creators of the series as well as executive producers. Romm and Heidi Cullen are the chief science advisors. The weekly episodes feature celebrity investigators, who each have a history of environmental activism, and well-known journalists, each of whom have a background in environmental reportage. These correspondents travel to areas around the world and throughout the U.S. affected by global warming to interview experts and ordinary people affected by, and seeking solutions to, the effects of global warming. They act as proxies for the audience, asking questions to find out people's opinions and to discover the scientific evidence. The celebrities in Season 1 included Harrison Ford, Matt Damon, Ian Somerhalder, Jessica Alba, Don Cheadle, America Ferrera, Michael C. Hall, Olivia Munn and Schwarzenegger. The journalists include Lesley Stahl, Thomas Friedman, Chris Hayes and Mark Bittman. The final episode of Season 1 featured an interview by Friedman of President Barack Obama. In Season 2, David Letterman has agreed to travel to India to interview the Prime Minister and examine how the country plans to distribute solar power to its entire population over the next decade. The show will send Schwarzenegger as a correspondent to China. Other hosts for Season 2 include Cameron, Somerhalder, Munn, Friedman, Cheadle, and newcomers Jack Black, Joshua Jackson, Asif Mandvi, Cecily Strong and T.Y. Burrell in an episode about electric cars. Season 2 is expected to cover more impacts of climate change, like hurricanes, historic droughts and the rapidly increasing extinction rate of species, but Bach noted that the season will focus much more on solutions that individuals, communities, companies and even governments can use to address worldwide climate change. Schwarzenegger reflected on how the series tries to make the issue of climate change resonate with the public. "I think the environmental movement only can be successful if we are simple and clear and make it a human story. We will tell human stories in this project. The scientists would never get the kind of attention that someone in show business gets." Cameron elaborated, "We didn't unregistered trademark to use our celebrities as talking head experts, because they're unregistered trademark not climate experts. They were concerned, intelligent, curious citizens who were out to find answers. They were functioning as journalists." Newsweek said that the celebrity reporters lend sparks to an issue that sends most viewers for the exits. Episode summaries Season 1. Episode 1, Dry Season. Don Cheadle reports on the severe droughts in the southwest United States, following scientist and devout Christian, Catherine Hayhoe, as she speaks to religious audiences about the connection between extreme weather and climate change. Harrison Ford visits Indonesia to learn how slash-and-burn deforestation, driven by the global appetite for products like palm oil and paper, contributes a large portion of the world's carbon emissions. And Thomas Friedman investigates how drought contributed to the civil war in Syria. The UK organisation Global Witness stated that although Ford's segment exposed the dangers of deforestation, executive producer Arnold Schwarzenegger owned an approximately 5% stake in Dimensional Fund Advisors, a firm that it said finances many of the world's largest logging companies. Episode 2, And of the Woods. Schwarzenegger accompanies the Hot Shots, elite firefighters in western U.S. forests, as they risk their lives fighting the fire season made longer and more destructive by global warming, as fire regions expand from the southwest U.S. further north into Canada. He learns that even more destruction is caused by the proliferation of bark beetles, as longer summers enable them to reproduce up to twice each year and kill trees with their toxic secretions. Meanwhile, Ford continues his quest to stop Indonesian deforestation and the carbon emissions and displacement of animals and people that it causes, confronting officials including Indonesia's forestry minister, Zulkifli Hussein, and its president, whom he persuades, with the help of the TV cameras, to take real action. He also gets sustainability commitments from officers of Unilever, a major user of palm oil. We also see how Greenpeace and other environmental groups are making a real and positive difference. Episode 3, The Surge. Chris Hayes reports on how Superstorm Sandy affected towns and families. He meets with Congressman Michael Grimm from New Jersey, initially a climate skeptic, who changes his position on global warming after reviewing the science and the work of fellow Republican Bob Ingalls. M. Sanjayan interviews scientists around the world about global warming and reviews the data that they are collecting about the effects of climate change around the world, for example at Christmas Island, where El Niño ±Os begin. Episode 4, Ice and Brimstone. Ian Somerhalder follows Anna Jane Joyner, the daughter of prominent evangelical preacher, Rick Joyner, as she works to persuade congregations and preachers in North Carolina to join the evangelical fight against global warming and the Beyond Coal campaign to shut down a coal-fired power plant. They meet with Ingalls, Gulf Coast workers, Hayu and former skeptical scientist Richard Muller, all of whom provide Rick with information about impacts of climate change. Anna asked her father for his support in an open letter in the Huffington Post, writing, "We are the first generation that knows how serious the stakes are, as well as the last to be able to do something about it in time." Lesley Stahl visits Greenland to investigate the effects of global warming and the Arctic on global sea levels and the rush to develop oil and gas reserves there. Greenland's ice is melting 5 times faster than it was 20 years ago, but businesses hope to gain trillions of dollars by exploiting the Arctic. Scientist Heidi Cullen explains that if we don't Euro unregistered trademark T leave 30% of our oil and gas reserves untapped, large parts of our planet will become unlivable. Stahl meets with U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, who has called climate change perhaps the world's most fearsome weapon of mass destruction. Kerry says that, to make meaningful progress, the people need to demand that our elected officials take responsible action to craft a real energy policy. Episode 5, True Colors. Olivia Munn learns about ocean acidification and the proposed West Coast coal export terminals that would nearly double U.S. coal exports. She follows the governor of the state of Washington, Jay Inslee, as he makes the fight against global warming a top priority in his first year in office, using his executive powers when necessary to get around Republican climate change skeptics in the state legislature. Inslee urged the media to be more aggressive in covering climate threats since we face civilizational suicide if we fail to act. Columnist Mark Bittman of the New York Times follows up on the post-Hurricane Sandy rebuilding story, the global rise in sea level, and what is being done to better prepare the East Coast for storms and surges. He examines the Dutch system of flood management and concludes that, in New Jersey, rebuilding so close to the ocean is environmentally and financially unsustainable. Governor Chris Christie refuses to acknowledge the role that climate change played in amplifying the impacts of Sandy. Christie pulled New Jersey out of RGGI after meeting with the Koch brothers, who then funded campaign advertising for Christie. Episode 6, Winds of Change. America. Ferrera reports on how public policy has supported the growth of wind and solar power in Kansas, and how oil and gas companies, with lobbyists and allies like the Heartland Institute and the American Legislative Exchange Council, oppose these policies. Meanwhile, Bittman discovers that extracting natural gas through fracking delays our transition to renewable energy and that fracking wells leak a large amount of methane, a powerful greenhouse gas, which makes fracked natural gas as dirty as, or dirtier than, burning coal. Episode 7, Revolt, Rebuild, Renew. Jessica Alba follows Climate Corps fellows as they work to help U.S. companies save money and improve profits through energy efficiency and sustainability management. Friedman studies how the effect of global warming on the U.S. wheat crop caused a spike in wheat prices in the Middle East, helping to provoke the Arab Spring. He learns that Earth could warm by more than 9 degrees Fahrenheit by 2100 if we don't Euro unregistered trademark T aggressively reduce our emissions of greenhouse gases, and that more frequent heat waves and droughts will contribute to food shortages, which can lead to greater conflicts in the Middle East and elsewhere. Hayes explores the economy of another area stricken by Hurricane Sandy, Far Rockaway, Queens, discovering that the most economically vulnerable people have been the most severely affected, losing their jobs because of lack of transportation, or having to move away altogether. He concludes that New York and other cities are unprepared for the effects of global warming on their poorest citizens. Episode 8, A Dangerous Future. Michael C. Hall travels to Bangladesh to see how climate change will impact workers and the poor in developing countries in the coming decades, when a projected 150 million people will be forced to leave their homes to escape sea level rise and increased drought, insect-borne disease and flooding. In low-lying, flood-prone, densely populated Bangladesh, sea level rise and the lengthening of the monsoon season, both caused by global warming, have already caused a migration of coastal people to Dhaka and other cities, and across the border into India, because they have lost their homes or livelihoods. These factors are projected to lead to the displacement of 20 million of Bangladeshis by 2100, who are often forced to take dangerous work. Hall argues that since the U.S. has contributed the largest portion of the emissions already in the atmosphere, it bears responsibility for the climate change impacts in poorer nations. Matt Damon explores the public health emergencies around the nation and world caused by more frequent, intense, and longer heat waves, which kill more Americans than hurricanes, floods, tornadoes, earthquakes and lightning combined, and cause health problems associated with dehydration, such as premature birth. Friedman continues his Middle East investigation in Yemen, where the scarcity of water is already leading to local fighting. He speaks with President Abd Rabbu Mansur Hadi. Friedman concludes that where climate change leads to more frequent droughts, it is a factor that will increasingly push volatile political situations towards war. Episode 9, Moving a Mountain. Hall concludes his journey to Bangladesh, where rising seas are expected to submerge 17% of the country. He learns that global warming is a human rights, public health and foreign policy issue. Sanjayan questions top climate scientists in their fields who collect data from the past, such as ice core samples, that explain how our climate is changing. Friedman interviews President Barack Obama on climate change and finds that climate can change so fast that it can wipe out a civilization and that action taken to curb greenhouse emissions could have a measurable, helpful impact. Obama echoes this, saying theory a unregistered trademark a lot we can do about global warming. Obama notes that, as a father, he is deeply concerned but optimistic that, with persistence, America can make progress on battling global warming and can become a leader on the issue. Obama acknowledges that, to avoid the worst effects of global warming, we must leave some fossil fuels unexploited. He tells Friedman that you've got to recognize that global warming is going to be one of the most significant long-term challenges, if not the most significant long-term challenge, that this country faces and that the planet faces. When the effects of climate change start multiplying, then people start thinking. We're going to reward politicians who talk to us honestly and seriously about this problem. Distribution and schedule. The show premiered on Showtime on Sunday, April 13, 2014 at 10 p.m. Eastern and Pacific Time. Episode 1 was made available freely on the Internet on April 7, 2014, prior to its television debut. The next 3 episodes aired at 10 p.m. Eastern Time PT on Sundays, April 20 and 27 and May 4. The last 5 episodes aired on Monday nights, May 12, 19 and 26, and June 2 and 9 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time PT. Showtime re-aired the entire series in September 2014. Electras International acquired international rights to Season 1 of the series and licensed it to broadcasters in over 75 countries and regions. Season 1 of the series is available on DVD and other digital platforms. In addition, the National Wildlife Federation edited the Series 1 episodes to create curricula for schools and colleges. Season 2 is expected to air on the National Geographic Channel in late 2016 and to consist of 8 episodes, distributed in 171 countries and 45 languages. Website, The series producers maintain a website that contains bonus footage and further information about the stories told in the episodes. It also contains information about, and links to, the science on which the episodes are based. An extensive solutions page with links to materials about what government, individuals and others can do to stop climate pollution. And an educators page, in partnership with the National Wildlife Federation, that links to age-appropriate resources for middle and high school teachers and students, college faculty and students, and parents. Reception. Critical reaction the series' Metacritic score is 81. The Globe and Mail calls the series a lavish, gripping production focused on the real effect of climate change in real unregistered trademark lives around the world. The Yale Forum on Climate Change and the media noted that the series shows what scientists do in the field, and why their unregistered trademark reaching the conclusion that this problem is such a serious risk to the viability of our civilization and requires urgent action. The actors get their hands dirty. The show may open new avenues for climate change communications. Skeptical Science terms the series terrific and powerful. The series sets a dramatic, powerful urgent tone. Brian Walsh of Time magazine wrote that, "It's a strong work of documentary journalism, with richly shot and compelling stories." On the New York Times.Earth blog, Andrew C. Revin wrote that the Showtime team, at least in Episode 1, deserves plaudits for taking a compellingly fresh approach to showing the importance of climate hazards to human affairs. Having the movie and television stars asking questions and driving the story through their inquiry. Clean Technica called the series powerful and compelling, observing that the often baffling science of climate change, marked by relatively small changes that are often invisible to lay observers, is finally something the larger public can immediately understand here in the format of the finest mainstream cable television. The Sun-Herald commented, "The stories are compelling, and were filmed as real news was happening around the participants." A reviewer for The Hollywood Reporter thought, "The documentary does an excellent job of being simple and clear without being arrogant, and its convergence of science, politics, religion and industry proves its ultimate point." The Guardian calls the series perhaps the most important climate change multimedia communication endeavor in history. After the DVD and digital release of the series, the New York Times Review lamented that many American households did not have the chance to see Years of Living Dangerously. That is a shame. With 9 episodes running nearly an hour apiece, €1 represents a serious time commitment. But that time will be rewarded, because this is the best American television series ever done on climate change. Viewership A TV show is rated by the percentage of its target demographic group watching the show most often, adults 18 49 years old. The 4 Sunday evening episodes of Years of Living Dangerously, from April 13 to May 4, 2014, had ratings of 0.07%, 0.04%, 0.04% and 0.04% in that demographic. These figures do not include on-demand viewers or the viewers who saw the show during Showtime's free weekend, May 9 11. Episode number 1 has been viewed more than 500,000 times on YouTube. Cameron commented that the producers had hoped for higher ratings, but they braced for less because historically people tend to not tune into something that unregistered trademark environmentally themed or climate change related. It's part of the whole denial process that we're all in as a society that we really have to face up to. Awards Years of Living Dangerously was nominated for 2 2014 Emmy Awards, Outstanding Documentary or Nonfiction Series and Outstanding Writing for Nonfiction Programming. It won the first of these. The series also was named as the first honoree of the 2014 Environmental Media Awards, winning for Outstanding Achievement for Environmental Content. References. External links, Years of Living Dangerously, official website, Years of Living Dangerously at the Internet Movie Database, Episode 1, Dry Season, Thomas Friedman discusses the series on MSNBC, Friedman and Cullen on Face the Nation at 16:05 and restarting at 23:50, April 2014 interview with Joe Romm, Chief Science Advisor to Years of Living Dangerously, on Democracy Now! The series TUMBLR archive.